everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
A podcast exploring religion, politics, and current events from two atheists just trying to survive life in these United States.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we talk a lot about the nuns. That's the N-O-N-E-S's. That's us, right?
Yeah,
people
that am we, and then a bunch of people that we definitely don't want to associate ourselves with.
But anyway, people who have no religious affiliation.
Yeah.
It's something that we almost obsess about on this show as a topic.
But we don't obsess about it quite as much as one Mr. Ryan Burge, who is who puts a lot of work into tracking such things.
Yeah. And he has some a perspective, I suppose, on where the nuns are demographically, and sort of asking the question of have we hit a ceiling in the United States?
Skun-dun-dun.
Is there a nuns ceiling in the United States? So we'll be talking about that on the second half of the show.
Be prepared, everyone. Ready yourselves.
Get out your boxes of tissue. You might be a little sad.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. All right. First, we have some news, Dan, stuff that happened this week, things we need to talk about.
A new or two.
Yeah. You have heard, of course, Dan, about Florida Man, right?
Florida Man.
Florida Man bites woman's face off. I met many of them
when I was in Florida.
You know, Florida Man does some horrible thing. Florida Man robs bank armed with alligators or something.
Right, exactly.
These famous headlines. Well, I've got one here. Florida priest bites woman's hand.
Oh my! A priest is a Florida man to this time.
Florida priest. He bit a woman's hand during communion. Well, he was administering communion. And I'm gonna. This is a little bit of a he said she said. So we're gonna go with the he said part first. He says that
I accidentally sneezed, and when I sneeze, I bite down.
Yeah, no, nothing of the sort. He's doing the whole mass thing, right? He's administering communion, and this woman comes up, and he says that it was really clear to him that she didn't know what she was doing, right?
Oh no!
And so he sort of, and I don't know what this sounded like, kind of a very politic way of handling it, right? Very polite way of handling it, where he says, Have you confessed? Have you already done confession? Right. And I think he's just trying to gauge, like, is this woman even fucking Catholic? Right.
Do you deserve a cracker or not?
And so she says that she hasn't, and he instructs her that she needs to do confession first, and then she can come and take the Eucharist. And I think this is a way of just like trying to get her to move along. And if she actually does go and gets her, manages to get herself through a confession session, then maybe she knows what she's doing and blah, 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 blah. Well, at a later service, she shows up again, and he asks her if she had actually gone to the sacrament of penance or confession. And she replied that it was none of his business. And then,
how dare she?
So then Father Rodriguez then offered the woman Holy Communion on the tongue. At that point, the woman forcefully placed her. Then this is from a church statement. This is from church. At that point, the woman forcefully placed her hand on the vessel and grabbed sacred communion hosts, crushing them. Having only one hand free, Father Rodriguez struggled to restrain the woman as she refused to let go of the hosts. When the woman pushed him and reacting to a perceived act of aggression, Father Rodriguez bit her hand so she would let go of the hosts that she had grabbed.
If you were describing to me, if you did, instead of the setup that you did, if you described the same series of actions, but you said it was two kids in preschool, and and you replace the word host with just crackers, this would all make sense. Everything that you're saying lines up perfectly with that story, but much less with the story that you're actually trying to tell me.
We'll get to that part, Dan. Let's see. Should be, this is the officials continued. It should be noted Father Rodriguez had no prior knowledge of this woman's background. She was asked to leave immediately. And the official says further, while the Diocese of Orlando does not condone physical altercations such as this, in good faith, Father Rodriguez was simply attempting to prevent an act of desecration of the Holy Communion.
By biting her.
Which, as a priest, Father Rodriguez is bound by duty to protect. Okay, yes, right. And he admits...
My Jesus crackers!
Yeah, he admits in another statement that, yes, he did bite her. Now, This is more sort of the she said part of it. So this article, it's funny. This first one was from ABC News. This one is from CBS News, and totally different take.
Okay.
The CBS article begins with the fact that a Catholic priest has been charged with battery after a woman says that he bit her during communion. She told police in St. Cloud the scuffle began after he initially refused to give her the sacrament. He wouldn't give me the cookie, she says.
I'm holding to my explanation.
Yeah, that's why I was
You have not dissuaded me from my take on this.
The whole time, Dan, I was just like, fucking stop it with the cracker. You're going to sooner or later say cookie and ruin my story. I don't know if it was that the way I was dressed, or if it was what I like, or if it was how I don't know what she means there. A witness backs her up. Okay, saying, so he tried to forcefully shove it in her mouth. She backed up. She said, no, don't do that. And she tried to get it. And that is when he went crazy.
Wait, so she's claiming that he was trying to force feed her?
He was just trying to get it done, right? Like, he was just like, okay, well, here's your fucking host, right? And then she's like,
enjoy it, bitch.
Now, so this article says they have a quote from the priest, says that he said to her, I am not judging you. I'm asking you, did you confess after Mass? If you did not confess, I cannot give you communion. I bit her. I'm not denying that. I'm defending myself and the sacrament.
That is not a good defense. You have done a poor job of defending either yourself or the sacrament. What the fuck is happening?
I think it's Florida, man.
That is definitely
it's life in Florida, right?
Yeah.
And so that's
some of you listeners live there. Some of you people are there on purpose.
Yeah. It sounds just like an insane place. Now, apparently, part of the reason we get all these stories from Florida is they have like this required reporting thing, right? Like they're required to release the news stories in a way that's different than most places to the local media. And I've heard that as an explanation as to like why, like if Salt Lake had the same rule, right? We would hear about all the crazy in Salt Lake.
I don't know. There's just something special there in Florida. I've seen how they drive.
It's life.
There's something special there.
It's life with too many alligators and
nightclubs. Way too many nightclubs.
Drive-through margarita stands. Do they do that?
Yeah.
Is that Florida too?
I think so. I don't know. It's in the South. Yeah. They must. Oh, lordy lord. Okay, well, I'm going to take us to a much more reasonable place, apparently. I've never been, but I long to go to Scotland.
Oh, yeah. That would be I would love to visit Scotland.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
I've been to other parts of the UK, but never to that northernmost bit. Anywho, some interesting news out of Scotland. There was a census in 2022. And of course, when they do a census, they don't just try and figure out how many people there are. They ask them some questions about themselves.
Smart, yeah.
And in Scotland, as of this census, 51.1% of respondents said they had no religion.
Oh.
Most of the people in Scotland don't have a religion.
What? That took a second. Why did that take a second to sink in?
Yeah.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. That does not include. So that's, there's like almost 6 million people in Scotland.
Sure.
So 2.7 million people just said no religion at all. That does not include the 335,000 people who didn't state a religion.
Oh.
So, like, that's people who are specifically saying, I don't have a religion, not people who opt out of answering.
Select. Oh, wow.
Isn't that nuts?
Wow. Good for Scotland.
And that's not like the rest of the UK, England and Wales, nowhere near that. They're like 37%.
Okay.
No religion.
Sure.
So some shit is happening. There were only 2 council areas, I assume that's like a county, in Scotland that weren't majority no religion. And that's the Western Isles and a place called Inverclyde.
Oh. Huh.
So that's pretty fucking great. I like this. I have a quote from the Reverend David Cameron from the Church of Scotland.
He's pretty sad.
Who said it's sobering, and we know that when the church is measured in this way, it can feel hurtful for our members and be a source of anxiety for many.
Oh.
But our faith and our relevancy cannot be expressed simply as a set of numbers in a table.
Oh, it's good. Good. He found a perspective on this that makes him feel a little bit better about it.
Right?
Wow.
Meanwhile, those are the words of a panicking person. of a person literally watching their own relevance disappear in real time.
This doesn't affect my relevancy. Doesn't affect my relevancy at all.
All of the old people who still come to my church are very much, they think I'm very relevant.
That hasn't changed one bit.
Literally, Church of Scotland members, which is definitely the next highest group.
Okay.
1.1 million. That's far less than half the no religion people.
Oh, how can there even be an official like Church of Scotland anymore? That doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
If you can't even represent half,
they're 20%
of your people,
of the people.
Like how do you justify in any way, shape, or form? I mean, first of all, established religion is problematic,
and dumb,
right? But how do you argue that you should in any way be established, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, Scotland.
Yeah.
Now we have to go, Dan.
Yeah. Somebody invite us. Somebody invite us to come and celebrate with you guys in Scotland. I want to come.
Good for them. Well done, Scotland. Jealous, super jealous.
I also sort of looked at the stats for other religions, and I am Islam is rising there as it is in many parts of Europe.
Yeah.
But here's the one that shocked me.
Yeah.
So there are 120,000 Muslims in Scotland, 30,000 Hindus, 19,000 people claiming paganism, which shut up. All sorts of 10,000, almost 11,000 Sikhs.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you want to guess how many Jewish people there are in Scotland?
12.
Fewer than 6,000.
Really?
That blows my mind. What did you all do to your Jews in Scotland?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it just was never a popular Jewish destination. They were like all those It's
can
just
get very cold. I don't know.
plenty of Jews in Russia. So back in the
Yeah,
day.
that's true. They did something too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised by that, but I am very pleased. Maybe all the Jewish people are like, they also decided to go no religion.
I have no idea. No idea.
But I am so, like, that is delightful. We'll have bad news on this front about the United States coming up later in the show.
right.
But yeah, this is a pretty solid jump. In 2001, Christianity was over 60% and no religion was under 30%.
Wow.
And in just that a period of time between 2001 and 22, they have crisscrossed completely so that now Christianity is below 40%.
Wow.
And no religion is above 50.
Yeah.
I like Scotland.
Yeah. I wonder sort of demographically where maybe the point of no return is, right? Or not, maybe not point of no return, but like the point where it just, the rise of non-religiousness sort of just gains a lot of steam, right? In a society. Because I felt like we were, well, I don't want to talk too much about what we were doing, but like, it feels like some places just get some momentum going, right?
Yeah.
And it just gets rolling and rolling, and it's a beautiful thing.
Here's the thing. This article was sent in to us by an astute listener who is apparently Scottish and had the theory that Scottish people are just very practical people. And so eventually religion just becomes no longer practical. Look, if that's the difference between them and the US, that makes sense to me. We have lost all sense of practical here in the United States. It is just a shit show. So
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, Dan,
Yeah.
I've got a story coming out of Italy.
Okay.
A country that really, really highly values and treasures and tries to protect their cultural heritage. Oftentimes showing up as food, right? They have lots of rules about their food, and it's delicious and good on them. It started off as good stuff, and they're trying to
You
protect
can't call it Parmigiano Reggiano if it's not from this particular thing.
Exactly.
And you can't call it balsamic vinegar if it's not from this exact region.
and prepare it a certain way and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, they also have a literary tradition going back to such folks as one Dante, right?
Sure. Did I ever tell you, I'm going to just briefly chime in and just say, did I ever tell you about the time I was talking to an Italian guy in English? We were speaking in English because I don't speak enough Italian to have a conversation. And he said but he spoke kind of fast and as Italians do. And he said something about Dante Alighieri, and I had no idea who he was talking about because I don't think I had ever heard his last name
Right,
before.
yeah. Yep, Dante Alighieri. Just famously called Dante. Like he is the Dante. He's like Oprah, right?
Yeah. Madonna,
so forth and so on. People
Madante. Can I call him Madante?
It's a mononym, right? People
Right.
who have they're known by one name.
Yeah.
And that's the case here. Well, anyway, as you can imagine, being the literary great behind such works as the Divine Comedy,
Yes.
which isn't very funny, I have to say.
Yeah.
I read it
No.
in college, and
Not a good comedy.
It falls short.
It might be
as a
low
comedy.
on both divinity and comedy. when
However,
you get right down to it.
The divinity part is the part that we're going to be focusing on here. Because for those of you who maybe don't know, the Divine Comedy follows, it's a story that sort of weaves its way through hell, purgatory, and heaven, right?
Yeah.
And this is where it's sort of the 9 circles of hell, right? Comes in.
However many it is. I don't know.
I think it's 9. And all the punishments and misery and everything are described in some detail.
Yeah, he basically invented the modern concept of hell. Even if you don't think in terms of the rings of hell, like he basically invented.
He invented that concept, and I believe, I might be wrong here, I believe he invented purgatory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
I think, if not, he really developed the idea.
Yeah.
So much so that Catholicism has the Divine Comedy and Catholicism are sort of interwoven a lot together through the centuries, picking off, like you said, concepts and ideas of the way the suffering plays out, the way that heaven sort of looks and is manifested, right? Like he came up with so much of this and is just a huge part of obviously their literary tradition. In some ways, he invented modern Italian. He was writing in a Florentine dialect, which basically spawned modern Italian, which didn't exist.
Interesting.
Right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So a big deal. Big effing deal. Well, a middle school teacher in a northern city in Italy has exempted 2 Muslim students from studying Dante on the grounds that it is a religious work and that it clashes with their Islamic faith. The story first broke in some local daily newspapers and spread nationally, and the nation has erupted into fucking outrage. Just absolute fucking outrage that spans the political spectrum. I'm going to read some responses by some people in the government. There's a center-left senator by the name of Simona Malpezzi saying that it was, quote, profoundly wrong to deprive any student of the deep knowledge of Italian culture that studying Dante brings. She adds, knowing Dante does not take anything away from the children's religious confession. Let's see.
That's probably true, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that a Muslim child is in any danger of like converting.
Probably not converting, but there is a part in the hell section where the Prophet Muhammad is described as one of the historical figures that was placed in Inferno.
That's not very nice.
And so that might be a little problematic for the Muslims in the classroom.
That might ruffle a feather or two.
Let's see. This is somebody from a right-wing party. Deputy Senate Speaker John Marco Centinaio saying, not studying Dante is an insult to our culture. Deputy Premier and Transport Minister Matteo Salvini says it's demented not to study Dante because some people might get offended. Let's see.
Demented. I love it.
Here's a political candidate and army general by the name of Roberto Vanacci, who has been suspended from duty, by the way, from whatever his military duties are.
Oh, dear.
Over a best-selling book that slamming gays, feminists, blacks, and other minorities, denying climate change, endorsing the Great Replacement theory on Muslim immigrants, replacing ethnic Italians, and blasting woke culture. He says, and it's important that we hear from him, they are trying to destroy our identity.
It's good to hear that we're not the only idiots in the world.
Well, but the thing so here's the deal. I think, and this is where these kind of questions do and can get really, really tricky, because here you have the work, a foundational work of the Italian language. Like literally modern Italian wouldn't have taken the form that it did take without somebody like Dante Alighieri. Yeah. Right. And his influence on the culture through works like the Divine Comedy. And so you have this incredibly important literary work for the language, right?
And it's probably, and I think it's fair to call it culturally important.
Absolutely. But in a country that is so heavily Catholic, right, where you start to have like these like drawing the line can be difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. But then these questions start to become, well, what religious materials get taught in the public schools? And is it right to make an exemption for some students who otherwise, apparently, according to this article, who have been exempted from the religious studies classes, right? Because they're Muslim, right?
Okay.
But here they are in literature class, and what they're studying is essentially a religious work.
Yeah.
What do you do for them in that case, right? You've already established that they can be exempted. But pulling the Divine Comedy from the national curriculum isn't an option, right?
This is all very tricky, Frank.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. So like I don't know where I stand on something like this, right? Unfortunately, it's not my problem to solve. I think that it's just a really I think it's important to highlight how complicated these things can be sometimes, right? Because you can't,
absolutely,
because it would be really easy. And from our perspective, outside of the culture, it's really easy to say things like, well, just pull it, right? If it's religious, get it out of the fucking public schools. It doesn't belong there, right? But then it's like, you look at the rest of the history of the thing and you're like, well, okay. It would be like if Shakespeare had a lot of religion woven all throughout.
Yeah, which he does, but like he's not professing it. It's just sort of
exactly right.
Something that the that the characters mention quite a bit.
Right. And so it's a little different because this is like steeped in like Catholicism and the Catholic establishment and so forth and so on. And but it would be like if Shakespeare was religiously problematic in that way. Like, what do you do? Right. We're also talking about, works that are integral to the English language. Right.
Yeah. It's, and important culturally and whatever. It's tricky. Here's the problem. The real problem is that, if you say, great, we will teach it, but we will teach it as a work of literature only.
Right.
And we will only talk about it as a work of literature, and we will talk about its value culturally, but we will not talk about its religious significance or like any of that. Like there's a line to be drawn there, and some teachers will do well with that line. And some teachers will be fucking shitbirds about it.
Yeah.
And then and make it hell for the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Or
it's tricky.
In Inferno for the rest of us.
Okay. Yeah. Well done. Well done. All right. Well, I have some wonderful news, you guys. This is finally it's here. We've been waiting. We've all been wanting it. mychurchfinder.org is finally up and ready to help you find the correct church.
All right. Cool.
This church gives sort of an A through D rating, and then also a WNR rating, which means would not recommend.
Oh, wow. They would recommend a D church?
Yeah, you could survive it.
Okay.
If it's the only one around.
And how is it actually like, is there a religious slant? I guess
here's what they've done. They've
only
sent
evangelical churches or something.
They've sent out surveys to pastors nationwide to ask them questions, how they respond to things. And to get an A rating, these pastors must have shown that their church is biblically sound.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Sure.
Okay.
Culturally aware, That's getting a little, I don't know.
In what way?
And non-socialistic, and a non-socialistic, legislatively active church.
Oh, no.
This is to help you find your Christian nationalist headquarters in your area.
Oh.
It is very, very scary. It was the founder was a guy in Texas who is somehow in the automotive world, an executive in the automotive world. But
Okay.
his name is Roger Ellswick, and he has an organization called the 11-6 Institute, which I did not look up, but I'm just going to assume it's a Nazi thing. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what the 11 and the 6 refer to, but you can look it up at your peril if you want to. Anyway, they describe their mission as ensuring the church becomes and remains not only the conscience of the government, but also the moral guide to legislation and the moral standard for all government. That's government, kids, not for the people, but that they are literally, they are looking specifically for churches to turn our country into the theocratic shit show that they lust after. Matter of fact, the co-founder of this website, a guy named Neil Mammon, self-published a book back in 2012 titled, and this is the whole title, so bear with me. Jesus is involved in politics! ! Why aren't you?
Oh.
Why isn't your church?
Oh.
I stumbled because my brain was so baffled seeing an exclamation point followed by a colon that I almost died. Oh my God.
It's just
So there you go. Apparently my actual feeling is that if he's asking, why aren't you and why isn't your church involved in politics because Jesus is, he's thinking we need to counter Jesus's involvement in politics somehow, because none of what they believe in is what Jesus would want from the politics of this country, but that's okay. Oh boy. So there you go.
Damn,
if you look, thank God the Christian right equivalent of Christian Mingle for finding your church is up and ready to go.
I mean, there was, when you were first saying it, I was like, like they actually had done reviews of like all the Catholic, churches and all the mainline Protestant churches. And they sent this out to even the Mormon and Jehovah's Witness churches, and in an honest effort to help people find their best fit. Right.
The church that fits your personal theology and your personal.
But for it just to be politically motivated, ugh.
Yeah, that is
all scary times, Dan. I'm so irritated.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
All right. Well, here's a story that should cheer you up, Dan.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's gonna warm your heart, cheer you up so much. We actually talked about this story back in 2020 when one Mr. Carlo Acutis, a deceased 15-year-old,
oh dear,
was beatified.
Yes.
After a boy in Brazil had recovered from a rare pancreatic disorder after coming in contact with one of Acutis's t-shirts. So
this is a kid. He was like an influencer, right? He was like
no, because he died in 2006. But you are right though that he was on the internet. He was active on the internet. I mean, 2006. I mean, this is not much was going on with social media yet. Things were just kind of starting to get going, right? And it hadn't really become the phenomenon and incredible problem for our society that it has become. Yeah, so he was this kid who had died of leukemia in 2006, and he was born in London, and his family moved to Milan. His parents were Italian. They moved back, I guess, to, back home. And so he spent his childhood in northern Italy, where he taught himself to code while he was still like in elementary school. And he created websites for Catholic organizations.
That was the thing.
As well as a website that documented miracles around the world. And it genuinely sounds like this was a pretty sweet kid. He apparently...
Do you think he knew that someday his website would be documenting his own miracles?
If it's still up and running. According to his mother, he would offer support to classmates whose parents were going through divorces. He would defend disabled kids when they were being bullied. He would take meals and sleeping bags out to homeless people in Milan.
This kid sounds like a saint.
I know, right? Around the age of 3, he started asking to visit churches that they were passing around in Milan, and he would donate pocket money to poor people or people that were asking for it around town. Anyway, so for those of you who are wondering why I'm bringing this up, what is this update? Well, you need a second. So one miracle will get you beatified, right? And you need a second one to get you canonized, right? As a saint. Yeah. And well, one happened, everybody.
What?
Let's see. Where did that go? Valeria Valverde, 21. She underwent emergency craniotomy, to reduce pressure on her brain, and she was in critical condition. It's been reported. Her mother, of course, being very worried, this is a very serious thing. She went to pray for her daughter's recovery at Acutus's tomb that's in Assisi. Right, you've all heard of the famous St. Francis of Assisi. It's an actual town. Yeah. And that's where his tomb is. And she went there 6 days later, and the same day that she went to go pray at his tomb, her daughter began to breathe without a ventilator, and she recovered the use of her upper limbs and her speech.
Holy smokes.
And she was discharged from intensive care 10 days later, and scans showed that the contusion on her brain had disappeared.
Undeniable miracle.
Undeniable. Now, here's the thing. Coincidences in this world totally happen, right?
What? How dare you? What are you trying to pull here, mister?
All I'm trying to point out is, like, I think some force in the universe that can perform miracles because you've prayed to it should have a higher success rate than 2 incidences spanning, let's see, a long time.
Yeah. You're an evil person for suggesting such a thing.
And so, like, come on, people, right? Like this is like how many other people had prayed for something, for his intercession, right? For him to go and plead with God on their behalf, right? Because
listen, saints can be choosy. They're allowed to. They can do whatever they want.
He was busy playing video games. They've got great ones in heaven. He's really gotten into it since getting up there. The Xbox in heaven is really amazing.
Gosh.
Yeah.
They got the Xbox 12. It's all like AI and 3D and VR.
Yeah. His last name, of course, Acutus. I just cannot not think of Star Trek and Picard. Oh. I am Acutus. of the Catholic Church.
Okay. I have not watched that. All right. Well, congrats, kid. You're in the big leagues now. Way to go. All right. Well, I have a story also Catholic in nature. I'm going to take us to the Vatican, where two very precious relics have been resting for centuries.
I love a good relic, I have to say. But
who doesn't love a good relic? These ones have been out of the public view this whole time because they are far too precious. To just display for any old shitbird to come along and
I'm sure they're so precious.
Look at. These are the garments, the tunics worn by St. Peter and St. John the Evangelist.
No way.
The very same.
What? I want to see these.
They are in not good shape. They are disintegrating. 2,000 years will do that to a tunic.
Yeah. I love a good tunic too, I have to say.
Yeah.
So a tunic relic is like about as good as it gets.
Well, I mean, it's not a finger or something cool like that.
I've seen the fucking finger. I've seen St. Thomas's finger in Rome.
Oh, there's all the fingers.
Yeah.
There's all the fingers. There's all the toes. Do you know that for a long time, there were rumors and there were multiple relics of Jesus's foreskin that went around. The point being that it can be pretty hard to prove the provenance of a relic, and 99 times out of 100, if they're more than 200 years old, it's bullshit. They're probably not the thing. Maybe let's call it more than 400 years old. Anyway, these are meant to be more than 1,000 years old, but we have carbon dating now. So the Vatican decided to have these two precious tunics tested.
Oh no!
Womp womp. They are not the tunics of St. Peter and St. John the Evangelist.
You shock me, sir.
I know.
You
please, everyone, try to maintain your composure at this very, very traumatizing moment in your lives. However, here's the thing. What do? You're the Catholic Church. You have been hoarding these tunics in the Sancta Sanctorum, the Holy of Holies.
Jesus, yeah.
Near the Basilica of St. John Lateran in Rome.
Okay.
These are big deal tunics, and now they've been proven beyond even the Catholic Church's doubt to be false. What do you do with these tunics?
You double down.
You kind of double down.
Oh, really? Really?
They've given up on the idea that they authentically belonged to St. Peter and St. John the Evangelist.
Okay.
However, they're still going to try to maintain them and restore them, and they're basically now saying that they are important to a lot of people. So we're just gonna
they're important.
Keep them important. I don't know why that's a thing. Like literally throw them away.
No, you let it just now it's important and you let it just fade. Right? The few people who are still obsessed with it and still just believe it and whatever against all evidence. Those people will slowly fade away. There won't be like a cult of following around these tunics anymore.
Yeah.
And it will just fade and that'll be fine. That's how and they're smart to handle it that way, right? Instead of like coming out and being like, "Oh yeah," and throw them in the trash.
Oops, right? These are garbage.
Yeah.
They were the whole time. I guess we'll just
treat them as come up with a different story, right? That they were actually used. These were the holy vestments worn by actors in a play portraying,
right?
Peter and
And they are,
John.
800 years old. One of them could be almost 1,000 years old, but not. It doesn't go quite back as far as it needs to. You're not wrong. Here's what the Vatican Museum said. They said that they are committed to preserving the relics and digging deeper into the secrets they hold. That is about as meaningless claptrap as you can come up
and
with. But
the important story of faith that the original people, the original charlatans, were.
Well, what is nice is that, like, there are textile historians that could probably now get their hands on these things and, learn a little bit. Like ancient textiles that have been somewhat preserved could tell some interesting stories.
Who knows? Yeah. All right.
Who even knows? Well, if you are a textile historian, or if you're interested in any of the stories that we've told on this week's show, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
We love to hear your perspective. The telephone number to call to leave us a voicemail would be 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, we've got some folks who have written into us, so we will now entertain their demands of response.
Hopefully in an entertaining way.
Yes. Let me entertain you. All right. Well, this is from Ellen, who says, "Hey, Frank and Dan, I am childless by choice." You remember we talked about childlessness, Franklin, you and I.
We did, yeah. And I got carried away. Maybe.
What's that?
And I got carried away. Maybe
we may have gone a little over the top, but it's fun to do so.
Yeah, indeed.
And suck it. I don't know. We can do what we want. It's our show.
All right. What do we hit?
All right. Hey, Frank and Dan. Ellen writing, "I'm childless by choice and have long bristled at the accusation that I'm therefore selfish. I have come to reverse the accusation. So see if this resonates with you and or any of your other listeners who might have responded. It's people who choose to breed more children who are being selfish and irresponsible. Overpopulation is a serious issue. The last thing the world needs is more of us, especially affluent Westerners whose environmental impact is enormous. Anyone who genuinely wants to parent should adopt or foster. Choosing to breed more instead of adopting/fostering shows the motive is less about parenting than attachment to one's own genes and self, and perhaps an egotistical exceptionalism." And in parentheses, the quotation, "Well, I know there are too many people, but my kids will be different and going to be smarter, better, etc." The result is more humans, consumers of resources, and producers of waste, while unwanted existing children wait for homes. So who's being selfish? Okay, Ellen, I think I hear that perspective. I understand it. I don't think it's necessarily selfish to have children. I won't go there.
Yeah, I don't. So here's the deal. Like, and I don't know if I made this point in this conversation or at another point when the topic of selfishness came up, but I hold to the idea that we're human beings. We're just selfish, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like the motivations that we have are, and that we follow through with, are oftentimes just about ourselves, right? So I have no problem acknowledging, the fact, I mean, as a gay man, the situation's a little different. Like, I can't just have a kid with my partner, right?
Right.
But a lot of gay men do arrange somehow to end up parenting, a child or two or however many. And so I guess you could say, lacking those sort of seemingly altruistic, motivations, I'm selfish. And you know what? I'm okay with that. right? Like, I'm perfectly okay acknowledging that my motivations might be a little selfish. I don't want kids, right?
I mean, I think
I don't want to raise kids. I don't want them. I don't want them getting in the way of my life, right? And
Yeah.
I'm perfectly willing to say that. And so Ellen, yeah, like it's fine. Like the selfishness goes both ways. I think
it goes both ways. Both sides are totally selfish and like,
but perfectly human at the same time, making decisions that make sense for them and their lives and what they want to do. And if that's
you're
selfish,
supposed to do that.
if that's selfish, then fine. I'm selfish, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at now.
I mean,
doesn't mean just
a career that you would enjoy is selfish.
Yeah.
Like pursuing hobbies that you like is selfish.
Yeah.
Or
it doesn't mean go fucking nuts and only ever think about yourself, right?
Right.
But I mean, we have to acknowledge that we make selfish decisions all the time.
And like that's if you want to feel fulfilled and happy in this world, you have to find that balance between serving yourself because you're the only one what's going to do it.
Yeah.
And also serving others and being not being deleterious to society as a whole.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all selfish. Both sides, totally selfish.
Yeah. Doesn't Ellen also kind of call me out a little bit for saying that atheists should be reproducing? Because
there may have been that.
Yeah.
I do edit for time.
I'm just saying I'm also fine with that critique, right?
Yeah.
Like and it's a conflicted statement on my part, right? Like if the world has to be filled with people, right, to a certain extent, and we know other people are going to be filling it, right? I'm looking at you, evangelical Christians,
and Mormons,
Like I know these people are going to be filling it, and I'm like, for just the sake of sanity and the chance that maybe there might be a few decent people out there, like, I want to. Like I'm like I want to just buy into this like horse race mentality about it, right? Of like, we should have more than them.
Yeah,
but it's not like it's also not totally sincere. Like I get,
and it's not totally logical either. Right. It's fine. Who cares? And we also had Deanna write in on the same topic saying, "Hello, friends. My partner and I are lesbians raising 2 boys and planning for our 3rd child. I think it's worth mentioning that a female doctor performed the insemination that resulted in our first pregnancy. I'm not sure this is what the Pope had in mind when he imagines people having more babies. No, considering IVF is not his jam. Yeah. Although I don't know if it was IVF. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what y'all did. Just it's a mystery to me. To answer your question about why we decided to have kids, it sounds pretty cliche, but I always knew I wanted kids. It's just in me to be a mom. It's totally selfish. Just hold off on that one. But Deanna, be prepared. We're about to call you selfish. Let's see. It's just in me to be a mom. I love being a mom, and I'm great at it. We also have the means to raise a family comfortably, and I'm able to stay at home with them.
Awesome.
Honestly, if I didn't want kids, my partner would not have had kids. She's a wonderful parent, and she loves our kids, but she works a lot, and even she'll admit that she's not the primary parent. My partner and I, this gets an interesting thing. My partner and I are a multi-faith couple. She was raised Christian and now identifies as Gnostic. Interesting. My family is Jewish, but I was raised non-religious. Anyway, when my partner and I were planning our family, we agreed that we would raise our children Jewish in the Jewish faith. I am baffled by that decision, but I'm going to keep reading. This was because I had been studying Judaism and connecting with my family history for many years at the time. My children are still very young, but I started to teach them about Judaism through reading books and celebrating holidays. I just didn't feel comfortable teaching them that what's written in the Torah or the Bible or any other religious text is true or right. The holidays began to feel hollow and man-made. It felt more meaningful and true to me to teach them about Earth and the sun and to celebrate the seasons and nature. So now we celebrate solstice and the seasons changing without us doing anything, i.e. escaping slavery, defeating an enemy, or the birth of a savior. They will still learn about religion, and of course, when they're older, we'll talk about religion's connections to ancient mythology and all that jazz. I'm excited to teach them about religion without being religious. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that works.
I'm a little confused if you were raised Jewish and non-religious that you would choose to raise your children in the faith of Judaism. I mean, I understand if you want to raise them in the culture of Judaism, but I'm glad you found a different path that works for you guys.
All right.
And you're very, very selfish. Very, very, very selfish.
Sounds like it. God.
Oh, I just really, really wanted to raise kids, so I did it.
But that's who should be raising kids.
Well, that's true.
Is people who really want to. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People who don't really want to should feel zero pressure to do so. Anyway, I'm going to go on to Skeptical Monkey, who wrote into us to say, hey, Frank and Dan, I've been listening for years, and I thought you might find my experiences in the Boy Scouts interesting.
Oh,
you remember, Frank,
yeah.
we talked about the Boy Scouts, which is no longer the Boy Scouts. They're the whatever.
Scouting
America, or something like that. You mentioned that the Boy Scouts of America is very connected with the Mormon and the Catholic Church. Well, not anymore. Here in Canada, my Boy Scout meetings were at an Anglican church. I really enjoyed the camping, tracking, woodworking crafts, and learning Morse code activities.
Fun.
Yeah, but that one's been useful for you for the rest of your life.
If he does like ham radio as
Right?
a hobby, that comes in handy.
Yeah.
You need that.
Do radio hams still use Morse?
I think they do.
Okay.
I thought they do.
Weirdos.
Why not?
I mean, I thought
Why
the whole
would-
point
why
was
wouldn't
like
you?
you're talking out into the void.
Yeah, but I think there's people who like get off on
On codes.
some Morse code, right?
Anyway, okay.
I don't know. Maybe I dreamt that last night. I don't know, but like,
Anyway, I'll go on. Skeptical Monkey says, I planned on staying in the Boy Scouts for most of my youth. However, the last meeting of my first year, we were told it was going to be on a Sunday morning. I was told we were going to be in a parade. This actually got me excited.
ooh, I love
I
it.
arrived and they lined us up and paraded us into the church. Even in my 8-year-old brain, this felt like a bait and switch. That killed my enthusiasm.
But where are the marching bands?
When it came to renew and sign up the next year, my dad asked me if I was going to do another year of Scouts. I adamantly said nope. The Scoutmaster called many more times trying to convince me, but I had been sufficiently disillusioned.
Wow.
Oh,
Once
Your
bitten,
parade.
twice shy. Holy cow. Like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
one time somebody's like, hey, we're going to have a parade and there's no clowns or marching bands. And you're just like, fuck no.
I'm just imagining if he had said yes, but like the whole time he's in scouting, he's out in the woods making a fire, but he's looking around for a church that they might parade him through. What are you up to? I don't trust any
A
of you people.
parade. That's amazing. I do love a good parade, so I understand, right? Like if you show up, if a parade has been promised and you're not getting
And you're just
floats
literally
and-
like made to be on
people hucking candy at you,
Yeah.
if that doesn't happen, I get it.
yeah.
I totally get it.
I don't know. I think you stay in it and you wait for next year's parade, but you have a plan.
Oh.
You show up and then like suddenly whip out your rainbow neckerchief or something.
It's a parade now.
Yeah. Do it. Fishnets. It'd be great. All right. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do indeed, Dan. These are folks who went to thankgodimatheist.com /donate and picked a way to support the show. You can support us on Patreon or on PayPal. And let's see. So we have a new deacon by the name of Vasectomies Prevent Abortions.
Yes.
Well done there indeed. And we have a new priest by the name of Janice.
Oh.
So thank you to the both of you for signing up. We really do appreciate all of the kind support. And another option on our website, it's right there on the donate page, is the option to review the show, which is also very helpful. So
give us some stars. Throw some stars.
Give some stars. The algorithms that promote these sorts of things, love it.
And by the way, if you want to give us 4 stars because you think we're pretty good but not all the way good, you still have to give us 5 stars. It's just how it works. Don't be honest. Just be nice.
And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank, I don't know about you, but I have been, you and I have been doing this show for what, 12 years or something?
Yeah, it's something like that.
And that whole time we have tracked with glee the rise of the nuns, the non-religious. We can't claim to be as cool as Scotland, but the United States has done a good job of divesting ourselves of religious people over the past decade or two. And that's felt really nice. It's felt good. But some the trend line has started to level off, like, very much, to the point where in the past 3 to 4 years, there has been almost no significant change.
Ew.
Meaning people who call themselves atheists, that's remained the same. People who call themselves agnostic, that's remained the same. And people who say they are nothing in particular, which is a dumb way to phrase it, demographers. Jesus Christ. I get so mad at
What's your beef with nothing in particular?
That's not a thing. That's just like, don't do a catch-all phrase that could mean like, well, I'm Christian, but not a specific one of them or whatever. Like, they need to do a much better job. I read the questions that these people ask, and I'm like, no, I can see how that's going to be a problem. Anywho, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's all leveled off or maybe even dropped a little bit.
Ooh, no dropping.
Yeah.
No dropping.
Yeah.
I'm okay with a little momentary level off. Like, things happen, right? Like, I feel like the last 6 to 8 years that we've lived through as a country, like, maybe things sped up a little bit. People kind of got a little, I feel like we sort of existed in this space where you really had to start making some decisions. You really had to start, like, figuring out who you were.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's been a little freaky. It's been a little wackadoo. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
If you have like some pretty shocking political things happen in your country.
Yeah.
And then a worldwide pandemic, things are going to get shook.
Well, and the pandemic hastened people's departure, right? Like, it got people to just, like, sit at home on Sunday instead of going to church. People who probably already were nuns, right?
Yeah.
And it got those people to kind of acknowledge it and move on, right? Yeah. Like, we know that happened. And so I wonder if the pandemic didn't just... whatever was naturally going to happen over the course of 5 to 6 years, right? Just kind of all happened right at once, right? So do we have some catch up, like not catch up to do, but like, I don't know, like maybe maybe we're just kind of on a pause. I don't know if demographics work that way. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I do want to I do think that there is a cautionary tale here.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think that I think it's important that we all take a little bit of time and say, maybe it's not entire. Maybe we're not on an inexorable trajectory that will just keep going until no one's religious anymore. And maybe we need to be careful how we approach this and how we talk about it. And because the kids are not all right, you guys.
Oh, yeah. The numbers for Gen Z were kind of weird.
Gen Z, I don't trust these people. Let me just tell you right now. If you were born after 96, I'm not quite there with you. I don't know. Gen X, we're a bunch of grumpy old farts at this point.
Always were.
Always
have
were.
been.
We were born that way,
Yeah.
and we have remained that way. And I would like to take credit for influencing the generations before us, because they were all happily being religious, and they are steadily dropping their religion.
Yeah.
The silent generation, the boomers, that's still their trend continues apace, which I am
nice.
delighted by.
That's remarkable to me. Like when you dig into these numbers, that the older generations are still falling off.
Yeah, man.
But the younger generations are kind of stagnating, if not even slight retreat.
Yeah.
With Gen Z. And I mean, there's some weird stuff there with Gen Z, because Gen Z, we've also talked, I don't know, have we talked about it on the show? How like the Gen Z males are kind of trending a little on the conservative side, and while Gen Z females are continuing the march onward toward being more liberal.
Yeah, I'm worried about Gen Z.
That we saw in like the millennials in general, right? And then along comes Gen Z, and the females are continuing that, but the males are being weird.
I think
right?
I don't think it's a coincidence that they're saying that like Gen Z is not having as much sex as past generations have. I think these guys need to get laid. Something needs to happen here, because there's a problem with Gen Z. Gen Z went from, in 2022, 48% of Gen Z was claiming no religious affiliation. So by far the highest of any of the generational demographics.
Okay, yeah.
Which was great. And that's up from 39% in 2016. So it went 39% to in just the span of 2016 to 2022, 39 to 48%. That was great. Now there's backsliding happening. It dropped in 1 year span from 22 to 23. They dropped from 48% to 42%. No. Absolutely not.
That's not cool.
A jump of 6%? You don't see that anywhere on any of these charts. 6%. Shut up. Get back out of those churches. You get out of there right now.
Yeah, somebody needs to. Yeah, I don't know what. So, well, what do you do here?
It's these Trumpy incels. I don't know.
Brace for the future, right?
Yeah,
because like we're gonna be like decrepit, you and me, when these kids are like
going to be
like in charge and cutting off our whatever Social Security is left, right?
Yeah,
and they will.
They will.
If they're anything like their boomer great grandparents.
Now we're getting in trouble with the boomers again.
No, and I know I don't do this. This is my thing. I came out and said I don't do this anymore, so I don't do this. That was a joke, everybody.
I do this. I'm still. Look. Hashtag not all boomers. Hashtag not all Gen Z.
Correct. Thank you.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is reach out to these people, love them, show them kindness, and then make sure that they know that good things happen outside of churches.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Maybe these, like, they're not having as much sex because the straight, female, liberal females are just like looking at these, conservative males, and they're just like, yeah, right.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Like it's a good time to be a liberal, a straight liberal male Gen Zer. Cause I mean, like,
if you have a libido,
you're surrounded, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no lack for options here, right?
yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of that generation is kind of embracing the incel thing. They're embracing it like it's cool or what. I don't know what's going on there.
They'll learn.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. Late bloomers, maybe.
It's very weird that this has leveled off for most of the generations.
Yeah.
And I think that this is no time to panic about it, because listen, we're still like a third of the country.
Yeah.
So
we're doing just fine, everybody.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff.
We're so cool.
Atheist, the number of atheists among Gen Z, 15%. That's great.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And I guess that's atheists and agnostics. But yeah, that's really cool. Gen X, we're at 11%. We're a solid voting block at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. We're doing okay. Like this is nothing to get too worried about, I don't think.
But don't get complacent. I think that's the lesson here. Anyway. On that note, I'm guessing a bunch of people have some stuff to say, and young people, don't let the boomers be the only ones who write into us on this stuff.
You can be pissed off too.
You can be pissed off at us. You can be furious with us also. So please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, to support the show, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate.
And our show is edited by Roger Gowdy, and music is by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston.
Thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.